welcome to the writers class. And if you recognize, I am sitting in the wrong studio today. And I want you to notice, you can see my pudgy belly. This is my COVID weight right here. I just had to point it out. Because like I was talking about, I was like, I had COVID weight. And they're like, where? And I'm like, my chin has COVID weight. People are not buying chin fat. I feel like you should buy and accept chin fat. If I say I'm fat and then I'm fat, it's chin fat. But anyway, there you go. COVID weight. I don't know what that rant was about, but I just had to tell you because I just yesterday I did an interview about people with body positivity for all sizes, and I was trying to be like, oh, I've changed sizes, and she's like, did you though? Like chin fat. But there you go. If the lady is watching, there you go. I changed sizes. Okay. Not important at all to anything I had to say today, but I needed that point proven. I'm Winona, by the way. And you know something? High five to me for remembering to introduce myself. Because I often forget. I do it all the way at the end, and I'm like, I'm Winona, and I'm an Untitled lady. No one cares by that. And we wrote books. And when I say we, I do not mean that I have two personalities in this wonderful body with this gorgeous hair. You remember, y'all? Narcissist hair flip. Okay, twice. Okay. I mean that me and the missing Jade will write books. And here are some of the books. And I thought divorce was bad. And I thought being grown up was easy. If only I remember your memoir in verse. Widows Web, Widows Debt, and Foreign Coffee. If y'all are counting along, you know what this is. It's 6 books. 6 books that you can get wherever your audiobooks are found. And then we have 17, and this is the sign language section. So it's 17 books all together, y'all. So where do you find the other 11 books? Well, you can find that at www.antithoughtLadies.com. And since I feel better today, because yesterday I felt horrible, but since I feel better today, it is car salesman time for www.antithoughtLadies.com. Oh, that's so much fun to do. And when you feel better, it doesn't take all your energy. And no, it was not COVID. Anyway, you're not here to hear about me, which is such a shame because I'm a narcissist. Therefore, I could talk about myself all day long. But you're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Susan Crawford, and I'm happy to be here. And that was a tough act to follow. And now I feel very, very wallflowerish. 3 things about myself. Let's see. I am a mother and grandmother. I have 5 altogether, wonderful little women. I was a teacher for 25 years in the field of literacy and taught at the union for many years at GM plant. And I once tried to start a union with James Orange.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about grandbabies. Oh my God, how adorable. So I have to ask because recently I was watching something and they were like, being a grandparent is better than being a parent because grand is right there in the title. So sorry, is it true?
It's not better. It's just, it's a lot easier. And you were so popular because my daughter lives in a different state. She has twins, girls. And yeah, I think it's great. When I go to visit, it's, oh, me. And they don't see that yucky side of you when you come home from work and you're tired and you just want everybody to leave you alone. And, oh my God, they want to eat dinner again. And it's different. It's very different. And you can show them all sorts of interesting things because they're grandchildren instead of being being children of your own.
Okay, so I think that I would like to be a grandparent first.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it would prepare you for being a mother, but I don't think you're nearly as popular as that's what it is. I'm more popular as a grandmother than I was as a mother because I don't have to lay down the law and enforce rules, make rules.
Oh my goodness. I think being a parent is a very hard job. I think being a grandparent, I would love. So I think what I'm trying to say is right now, I would like to be an auntie, the cool one.
Yeah, I think, being an aunt is kind of like being a grandmother, I think. Because you're in and you're out and you're, oh, aren't you cute? And then,
Exactly. Okay. So let's talk about let's talk about what we're actually here to talk about. Although, I'm sorry, you said you tried to start a union. Was that fun? Was it hard? You don't have to go into details, just like, was it really hard?
It moved a lot faster than I thought it would. I felt that, and I don't want to name the organization, because I'm sure they still don't like me, but basically they were trying to give us twice as much work for the same pay. And I was teaching, and I was doing this after that, and I had 3 kids, and I was taking classes, and I knew I wouldn't be there forever, although it seemed like I was there forever. But there are other people who really, really depended on that income and had for many years. So I thought, well, we'll just start a union. So I made a couple of calls, and I ended up almost right away working with James Orange, who worked with Martin Luther King. And he was great. He was a unionizer. And it was really fun. We passed around the slip to get the union vote right under everybody's noses. It was a really big deal. It was hard work. It was kind of tricky, but I got to meet some very interesting people.
I gotta say, like, when you write a memoir, that's going in, right?
I'm sorry?
When you write a memoir, that's gonna go in, right? That story has to go in.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness. So what was it like growing up in Miami, Florida?
Hot. Interesting. It's a very, well, where I grew up, and when I grew up, I was in South Miami, a little house, cinder block house. We had a lot of hurricanes. Used to go surfing at South Beach, which was very different back then. It was fun. I liked Miami. It had a bunch of eclectic collection of people, and the beach. We went to the beach. My friends and I would go to the beach every weekend. If I had a date, we would go to the beach. It was just the beach. Everything sort of in my life centered around the beach. But it was very hot, and I couldn't wait to move. But I think the grass is always greener on the other side, so I moved up north.
So here comes a bit of the narcissist in me. I have Southern Florida, so I'm always intrigued to find out about it. How did other people enjoy it? What was that like for y'all? I feel like Florida's ruined for me. Anyway, so I want
lots of coconuts. I for a while, because certain parts like Coconut Grove, you could just walk down the street, and there were coconuts on the street. You just break it open, eat the insides. We used to make planters out of the inside part of the coconut, not the edible part, macrame things, and they were just everywhere. And I remember being so shocked when I moved out of Miami to find how expensive coconuts actually are other places.
One of my favorite fruits. Yeah, they're expensive. I remember saving up my allowance when I was real little to get them.
Oh no. Wow.
A little 50 cents, I saved it up, and I'm like, coconut! And it takes me forever to eat it, but it was delicious.
Oh, they're pretty versatile. I mean, there's the milk and the fruit and the shell. You can make planters out of it. They are interesting.
Never thought about that. I'm gonna do that with the next coconut. I'm going out today to get one. Make a planter. I stick them in the freezer and pretend like they're popsicles for some reason.
Oh yeah, yeah. That would be
So
good.
good. But let's talk about your actual book and your writing career, you know, which you thought you were going to get interviewed about, except like your life. So she comes on and like, we were having a conversation. I was like, oh, let's do the interview right now. Like,
Oh yeah, there's the book.
yeah. And we talk about everything else but the book. So let's talk about the book. Your first book was The Pocket Wife. So, I have to ask, because everybody out there is going to want to know, how did you get your literary agent and or publisher?
Well, I went to a conference. I went to an Atlanta Writers Club conference, and I had written the book. It was just sort of a fluke because I always wrote literary fiction, and and my critique group had turned into, it had gone from mostly women to about half and half to all men and me, which was not as much fun as it sounds like it would be. And they constantly complained, especially this one man, that I didn't have enough action in my book. So you just have these women walking around drinking tea and talking. And so I said, okay, fine. The next book I write we'll start out with a dead body. So it did. And I had really didn't know what I was doing. I had read all the Nancy Drew books, but that was about it. So I kind of it was like doing a puzzle, but I really, like I said, I wasn't very knowledgeable in that genre. It was sort of a psychological thriller, I guess. And I was not at all well read in that genre, and I'd never written anything in that genre. So I was feeling my way through. I mean, the critique group of men loved it. Oh, give us more. They no longer got depressed and didn't come to meetings when it was my turn to be up. They really, so I knew I was doing something right. And I finished it quickly. I finished it in about 6 months. And then I went to the Atlanta Writers Club meeting and conference. And I submitted the first 20 pages, which is the way they do it, to an agent. And she loved it. And she said, oh, send me the whole thing. I just love this. So I'm so excited. I sent her the whole thing, and I didn't hear from her. And so I emailed her and I said, and she said, well, she no longer loved it, basically. So I ended up rewriting it from 2 points of view instead of the original 5. She wanted it more from the point of view of the woman, the bipolar woman who was having a manic episode and thinks she might have killed her neighbor because she was drinking so much she can't really remember. When she stumbles home and she wakes up, this is at the beginning of the book, the dead body. She wakes up to the sound of the ambulance arriving at her friend's door, and her friend has been bashed over the head with a vase, and she's not sure if she did it, and she's the main suspect. So we go from there.
Okay. Wow. That is definitely very exciting, considering that you were coming from someone who was drinking tea to let's open the book with a dead body.
Yeah, well, it was actually, it was kind of fun. Well, it was really fun. And so I kept rewriting, and finally she accepted it. But I think the most frustrating part for me, and probably for others of you out there, is the waiting. So I'm pretty a quick study. So I would address the problems and I'd send the manuscript back to her, but I might wait for 2 months or a month for her to get back to me. And if she accepted, that was fine. But if she got back to me and said, no, this isn't quite right, then it was another whole long process. So that was frustrating. But she did finally, in fact, the night she accepted it, about midnight one night, we finished working on it together on the phone or computer, I guess was. Changed page 52, and I'd change it. Is this okay? Yeah, that's okay. She had an offer on it by noon the next day. So within like 12 hours. So then it went to auction, and I got the deal. She got the deal. We got the deal on the book. It was a 2-book deal.
Nice. It's not often that you hear about books going to auction. Like that's amazing.
It was very amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love your journey in publishing. Can we swap?
Oh no, you don't. That's the arrival. There was a really long, I mean, I'd written my whole life, and wasn't until I had raised my daughters and they were out of the house that I got really serious, and I joined the Atlanta Writers Club and a critique group and really started. And even then, all the books where people were walking around drinking the tea and talking, I didn't get an agent for them. So it wasn't an overnight thing. It was tedious.
So how did join the Atlanta Writers Club and the Village Writers, is it, help you in your writing journey?
Well, the Village Writers was the critique group, and I knew I had a lot of writings, but I didn't know what to do with them, where to go. So I asked a woman. At the time, one of my jobs was grading the GED essays for the state. Boy, talk about creative writing. There was lots of, majority, or probably about half of them were prison papers. So they were just fascinating. But anyway, there was one of the other women grading the essays. I just asked the room, because they were all sort of English people, because they were grading GED essays. And one of them said, oh, I know a guy who has a critique group. You might look him up. So I did. And that was the one that I was talking about. In fact, that was the very man who said he was sick of my women who did nothing. So that's how I got started with them. It was a group within a group. You know, it was, the umbrella was the Village Writers, but this was a critique group for novels. I don't think it's still, I won't say anything because I'm not sure they're still in existence. But and what was the other question about Atlanta Writers Club?
How did the Atlanta Writers Club happen? I mean, obviously you got your literary agent through them.
I did. I didn't even know about them either. I was really very clueless when it came to writing groups and what to do. But a woman named Ginger Collins, who's great, was very active in the Atlanta Writers Club. She came to one of the Village Writers Critique Group meetings, and she suggested to me, it was back when I was writing about the tea drinking women, but she liked my stuff. And she said, why don't you come? And she told me about the Atlanta Writers Club. So I went with her once, I think, and then I just joined it. Oh, and when I joined, they were meeting in the back room of a library in Sandy Springs. It was very small.
Yeah, George was telling us about that.
Yeah, George and Ginger together really
turned that around.
Oh man, I mean, and quickly too. Within a couple of years, they just did a magnificent job.
That is so amazing. So, can you tell people about your second book and then just go ahead and tell us where we can find out those titles.
Well, here's the pocket wipe. I don't know if you can see it. The other one is just happened to happen here. The other one is called The Other Widow. And it was part of the 2-book deal, but the funny thing is, if I can be honest here, I didn't realize that the second book had to be a suspense or a thriller too. So that was originally the book the guy was complaining about with the 2 women. One of them is the girlfriend of a guy who gets in a car accident and dies. So it's told from her point of view, and then the point of view of his wife. So I had to kind of just take the whole thing apart and reconstruct it as not literary fiction, as more of a psychological thriller. And I did that. Yeah, so that's the story. That the other widow is the other woman. After the guy dies, she becomes the other widow. And they're both, did you ask me where they're sold?
Yes, where are they sold? Where can we buy them?
Oh, well, they were, I mean, they came out a few years ago, but they were 1 year apart. They were in all the bookstores, Amazon. I did a book event a couple nights ago, and the bookseller had all the books, both books. I'm not sure. You can get them through Amazon, I know that, or HarperCollins. And I think you can order them from any bookstore, but you might have to order them because they probably don't have any there. But yeah, I think you can just go up to the desk and say, I'd like to, or call and say, I'd like a copy of The Pocket Wife or The Other Widow.
So can you tell us a little bit about, like, if we want to follow you on social media and see what you're up to, what's the next books you're going to write? How would we do that?
Well, I have just finished another book, actually, and right now it's called The 22 Bus, and I found another agent. I have a different agent, and she is just this week, I think, sending it out to publishers, so fingers crossed. I don't know, shall I write it, or well, Susan Crawford Novelist.com is my website, which I've been terrible about keeping up during the pandemic, I admit. And I'm also on Twitter, but I'm not terribly active there, but I can be reached there certainly. Susan H, no, I'm sorry, Crawford Susan H on Twitter. And Instagram, I'm on Instagram, Susan H. Crawford.
All right.
And Facebook, I'm there too, Susan Crawford, author.
So everyone, go ahead and follow her at Susan Crawford, author, I think she just said. And
yeah, I have 2 pages. I have my, but I get them all sort of, they're mixed up together. So just my regular Facebook page is fine. And I think it's Susan Crawford, author. It might just be Susan Crawford. And then I have an author page. I think it's Susan Crawford. I'm sorry, wasn't prepared to do this interview this morning, so I don't have all my ducks in a row. But it's Susan Crawford, author, and then there's also an author page connected with that Facebook.
It's Susan Crawford Novelist.com, because I'm currently looking right at the page.
Oh, okay. It is. Yes, that one I know. Yeah.
And then you can follow her at all those other places on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. By the way, she's so much fun to follow on Facebook because, I'm old like that. So I follow her on Facebook.
Oh, okay, good.
So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up over here for us. I'm Winona, and one of the End I Thought ladies. You see how I always do that at the end? I'm like, hi, I'm Winona, one of the End I Thought ladies. Go figure. But you can find out everything that your ladies are doing at www.endithoughladies.com. And while you're there, please go down to the middle of the page and see the charities that we proudly support. We ask you that you can please help them out because times are difficult for everyone right now. And we would thank you in advance for doing that. Remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.